This movie's biggest missed opportunity. No Rascal Flatts. What's up, Flick fans? Welcome back to the channel. I saw Disney's Wish. I love a good Disney musical. Could this live up to the hype, and did it harken back to all of the classic films? And Asha, a sharp-witted idealist, makes a wish so powerful that it is answered by a cosmic force, a little ball of boundless energy called Star. And together they confront the most formidable foe, Chris Pine, who plays our king. This movie, of course, is rated PG. It's one made for kids, families, obviously. That's kind of what every Disney film like this shoots for. But this one specifically, I do believe kids are going to like it maybe a little more than adults. Some of the jokes got a nice response from my audience. There was a little bit of laughter and some clapping towards the end, but I did find that a lot of the kids in my theater seemed maybe more distracted than I expected, kind of running up and down the aisles. One kid was on their phone, like, you're 8. Why do you have one of those? Wow! You know what I had when I was 8? Nothing. You know what I had when I was 12? A Firefly. I could call mom or dad. I called mom a lot. I still do. I love the cast. Alan Tudyk, who is always bringing it. Ariana DeBose as our main character. As many issues as I have with some of the story beats here and other elements that we will get into, DeBose carries every scene on her shoulders. The musical numbers, she is giving it 100% of her effort, and I appreciate that. I love that. I think she is magnificent, and I thought she played a nice character here. Chris Pine, he plays King Magnifico, and he's the guy that grants the wishes for all of the people, and he keeps things in order. He's not doing anything evil, right? He's just strictly controlling the entire community. Interesting. And to be honest, the first 20 minutes of this film were starting to get me hooked. I liked the idea of what his king is attempting to stand for, but the way that it's coming across, it's making me question his motivations. Okay, you're doing a nice job, and I really like Chris Pine's voice. On the other side of things, DeBose, her character, her, family and friends, there's a lot going on within this community when it comes to making wishes, getting those wishes granted. Her grandfather, who just turned 100, she really wants his wish to come true. And that's a story point at the beginning that I found, again, really interesting, but it's one that it kind of loses its way, as do some of the other interesting things that they set up in the beginning as we progress through this film, and we get a lot of musical numbers to carry us from one scene to the next. We get a lot of villainous monologues and lines of dialogue from Chris Pine as we go from who we think he is at the beginning to, not spoil anything. You know how this goes, right? But there was something in the first act that made me think he was going to be a more dynamic character. By the time you get to the final act of this movie, he goes from that to just an uninteresting, bland villain with powers that, sort of make sense, but they seemingly come out of nowhere, and you're just kind of like, it feels like a lazy way out. And it's crazy how I was convinced at the beginning he was going to be a very interesting Disney villain, and it turned out to be just a flat antagonist. And that's so disappointing. And he just kind of feels like every other Disney villain combined into one, but without much more, without much interesting. And I could say the same thing about this film. I saw somebody on Twitter, I don't want to take credit, say they could just take artificial intelligence and put together a script and it would kind of come out like Wish. Now, I don't want to go that far because there is a little bit of magic here, and I think 2 of the songs are really good, really memorable. But I see where they're coming from because everything else is just kind of that. Uh-oh. Disney. When you wish upon a star, Wish has always been a big thing with this studio, with this company, and they're celebrating their 100-year anniversary here. That's pretty cool. This film is evidently supposed to be kind of the culmination of some of those ideas and part of that celebration because it's using most of its runtime to harken back to other Disney classics, whether that be things going on in the background, lines of dialogue, the idea of what the word wish brings and means, and kind of the exploration of that at the beginning. But again, it kind of gets lost in itself as it turns into yet another villain goes bad, protagonist has to gather a bunch of her friends and go up against the villain, but it loses its heart along the way. And I can't remember the last time a Disney movie did that. And when the second act hits, it doesn't opt to make the characters interesting anymore. We have a lot of musical numbers, a lot of things along the way that we've seen in other Disney movies before, and this big culmination in the third act, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's when everyone comes together, and this issue that has been slowly ramping up throughout the entire film, it just explodes. And I felt like that happened way too quickly. The film gets there way too fast. We don't get a lot of time to spend with the other characters. Now, obviously, you're going to have the animated creatures in here. The star comes in. The star is cute. The animals. All that is cute, and we get a little time with them, but, you know, her friends and family along the way. One character starts out, you don't really know where he stands. Then he makes it very obvious at the end, but is that just kind of the way the king has been manipulating the people? All of those ideas are in this film. They're just not really fleshed out or explored. They're replaced at the end for a very standard and typical animated ending, and I felt there was a huge missed opportunity in this third act to make this, instead of being something solely for kids, and you have all the Disney vibes, but not a lot of the heart, you could have made it something more for families to walk away and go, okay, I really like what they did with that character. The villain had a great arc. More than 2 songs were memorable because I think those 2 songs work beyond that. I don't really remember a lot of them. Instead, that's kind of how I felt. And finally, the animation. I appreciated some of the backgrounds big time and some of the effects that they give, and of course those nods, but some of the character movements and just the way that they look as a whole was missing that spark. And I'm not going to say it's a huge misfire. I do think kids are going to watch this and somewhat enjoy it, but it never went beyond that, and it's really unfortunate.
Wah, wah, wah.
So before I give you my score, sorry about the negativity, what's your favorite recent Disney movie? You have this one, Strange World, and Kanto. That's a good one. Wish features plenty of classic Disney nods, a great performance from DeBose, and 2 solid musical numbers. Unfortunately, the story feels rushed, a bit scattered, and extremely familiar. The villainous art goes nowhere, and the spark is missing. But I want to know how you feel. More importantly, how do the kids feel? Did they enjoy it? At the end of the day, that is all that matters. Appreciate you big time for watching. Stay tuned. Movies like Saltburn, American Fiction, and I may be seeing Poor Things soon. I don't know. See you later.